Hi, I'm Andy Parr, and you're watching The Gadget Guru. You know, just a few weeks ago, I produced a video entitled, What's It Like to Drive a Prevost? And let me tell you something, we got some pretty good response and some great input on that one. What the theme was there was that, well, I had cameras all around the bus. I was behind the driver's seat. We were in different types of road surfaces. We were in the city, we were in the highway, we were cruising at 65 to 70 miles an hour to try to give you an impression of truly what it feels like to drive a Prevost. Well, today, we're going to step up our game. Watch this. Yep, you guessed it. Today's theme is, what's it like to drive a 1957 Flxible Starliner? So stay tuned, because that starts right now on The Gadget Guru. Driving a Flxible, and I guess the best way I can explain it, it's a very satisfying experience, but it's not without its share of quirks. After all, it's a 60-year-old bus. The biggest quirk is the steering, because it's not power steering. First time I drove this bus over at Jim Lattimore's house. That's the gentleman I purchased this from. He was the custodian for a couple years before I took ownership. We're in his driveway. We're in Leapers Fork, Tennessee. It's hills. It's a really tight turn. And he drove it first, and I noticed he was kind of struggling with the wheel, and then I got behind it, and I'm going, holy smoke, this thing is just a nightmare to drive. There's no power steering. Well, meanwhile, I had checked it, and power steering can be added. So the first time I get in, Jim says, I want you to think of one word when you're doing this. You know, power suggestion. You know, Jim's a smart guy. He said, Armstrong. And every time I turn the wheel, and it's in a very tight parking space. And I've parallel parked this before. I think of Jim and I think of the word Armstrong. But let me tell you, I made the decision when I drove her from Tennessee back down to Florida that I'm not going to put the power steering module in here. And the reason is, once you get past 2 or 3 miles an hour, this thing is just a dream. Let's go in and get her backed out of the garage. Okay, have my backup camera on. Air brake is off. We are in reverse. Now watch the steering. Remember what I was telling you about it being a quirky experience? Not power steering. As long as you're moving, it's fine. Now also remember, unlike modern motorhomes, this does not have the wheel cut that you would see in others. I mean, it's fine. It's only a 35-foot long coach. And I haven't found a place that I have not been able to navigate into. Now granted, while some people might do it in one maneuver, it might take me 3. Armstrong! Now, let me tell you the first thing I do before I get started. See this? This is my iPhone. This gets put away. If somebody calls, guess what? I'll just have to call them back at my convenience. So that thing is away. Good idea. You do the same thing. We're moving now. Notice how smoothly it steers. Just like I did in the What's It Like to Drive a Prevost video. What my goal is today, we're going to do a combination of kind of city streets with some stop and go driving, some turns. We're going to get on the highway. We'll get up to speed so that you can see the acceleration on the bus. And we have a destination in place. Tell you where we're going. Got a treat for you. We're going to the Fort Wilderness Campground at Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida. I like to take the bus out every 2 to 3 weeks. I think the worst thing you can do, whether you have a bus like this or a new RV, is you got to keep it running. You know, people who have garage queens and something like this, I think the worst thing you can do for an engine, and trust me, I'm no mechanic, is you just let her sit around. Okay, we're off and running. Now here's what I've done also. I have this microphone I'm wearing around my head. This is a new one I'm trying out, so let me know what you think of the audio quality on this. I also put my regular hand mic, you've seen me do it when I'm interviewing people, I put that back in the bedroom back here. And I figure I have them on different channels. Here, right here, we're only doing 30 miles an hour. Let's cut to that channel, you hear what it sounds like. The air conditioning, this thing is great. It's a residential HVAC system. Have a vent right up here. It kind of goes around the arcing of the windows and it blows back. I was down at Everglades Isle one time, a very, very hot day. By the way, that's the place where you go to get the freshest stone crabs, and it's just a beautiful motor coach resort right there on the water. Get to see the airboats go by. And one of the guys that was there came on the bus and he goes, "This is absolutely the coldest air conditioning I've ever experienced." Hey, I live in Florida. I like air conditioning. Now, the road we're on right now is under construction, as evidenced by the orange barrel. So, as we get up, it's not the smoothest road, but you're not going to hear squeaking. You won't hear squeaking from the slides because there are no slides. We're going to go up here to the second light and take a left. One thing I need to point out to you, I just saw a truck go by and the guy was waving and he was smiling. I forget that sometimes that I'm not in my Prevost and that I'm in quite an unusual looking bus, something you don't see on the road every day or every year or every decade. And the guy was just kind of smiling. When you own a bus like this, it takes a special type of person. When I go in to get diesel, a 15-minute or 10 or 15-minute stop can turn into 45 minutes. People just come up. They just want to talk to you. They want to ask questions. It makes people smile. On the destination board that I have up top, I have a lot of different signs I pop in. For the most part, I put gadgetguru.com on there, and the reason is it's not to advertise my site. I do it because when people say, start asking me questions and I need to get on, I say, hey, just go to gadgetguru.com and click Flxible. You'll see some more info on that. But I also have some of them that say, make America smile again. And I have other kind of cute sayings. If I'm taking this to a charitable or nonprofit event, then I try to put up a sign up there that does that. Owning a bus like this, it's not just for you. It's something that's just kind of fun to share. Okay, we're coming up on a left turn shortly. Before I take my turn, I got to tell you the story about the turn signal. Listen to this. When Dave and Caroline, did the conversion on this bus, they put a very nice red light on the tip of the turn signal. You're driving at night or even in dim lighting, you can see it really well. But when I first got it and I was driving the bus from Leapers Fork, Tennessee down to Florida, I was in the habit, I'd turn it on and I would forget to turn it off. So I took it to Parliament Coach when I was having some modifications, some minor ones done, and also to get a major service done, get everything brought up to date. It had already stopped at Hemp Hill Motor Coach in Nashville. They went on and made sure all the fluids were up to speed, for my drive down to Florida. So I left it off at Parliament. I said, hey, one thing, can you put a little beeper or something on there so that, I know when the turn signal's on? The last thing I was expecting was this. Yeah, it gets on your nerves. And as we know, Parliament's no longer in business. I wonder if it was because of this buzzer. I doubt it. Okay, we're taking a left turn. Now watch what happens in the steering. Remember, you saw me in a parking lot. I do hand over hand steering on this. Notice how easily it comes right back into a center position. Let me tell you why. After, driving this thing for just a few weeks, I decided not to convert it to power steering. It's because of this. Look, I'm on uneven pavement here. Two different surfaces. I can take my hands off the wheel, and she pretty much tracks straight. At highway speeds, it's the same thing. A very light touch on the wheel. Granted, with any motor vehicle, especially buses, you want to keep both hands right up here. Unlike a Prevost or even any modern motor home, that you could drive with one hand or one finger. Keep a hand here. But honestly, look at this. This thing, while parking lot speeds are Armstrong, this thing's pretty easy to handle. Okay, we're going to take another left here. And we have some highway driving coming up in a moment. Yes, we're going to Disney World. Okay, we're going right at 35 miles an hour. And, you know, here's the best thing I can tell you. When I was doing my 2 years of shopping and driving a variety of motorhomes, this thing is a lot more solid than the other ones that I've driven. And there's that darn blinker buzzer again. Yeah, I just need to get down there and put some duct tape and cotton over it. I just haven't gotten to it yet. Been a little busy. I'll tell you one thing about this darn blinker. I don't forget to turn it off after I've completed a turn. That's a very good thing. So I guess it was mission accomplished, so I can thank Parliament for that. Okay, now let's talk about visibility, because I'm getting to get over into the right turn. I'll be honest with you, my Prevost has spoiled me on that. The mirrors on that bus are absolutely the best that I've seen. They are so good that my backup camera, while that can, you know, when I hit the turn signal, can revert to side cameras. I just keep it on the backup camera and glance up to see where my tow car is. But because the visibility, there's virtually no blind spots, you know, on that bus. This, it's different. The mirrors here are slimline mirrors. They're period correct. I have little ovals back there. When I go from driving the Prevost into this, it takes me a few miles to go in and get myself accustomed back to these mirrors. I mean, in the big picture, they're pretty good. I was thinking about putting larger mirrors on. These are ample. They're safe. I haven't gotten around to pulling the trigger. The folks on the Flxible, I believe it was the Europe Facebook page or the Australia, I forget which one it was. Kudos to both of them. They've been very helpful. But they sent some links over of some mirrors to look at. Okay, fast forward time again until we get up here to the highway. I have my engine brake on now. I don't know if you can tell, but it gives you a little extra assist in slowing down. You know, you just felt it kick in there. It's much more pronounced on this bus, and I believe, as I said before, than it is on the Prevost, because this is 20,000 pounds. The Prevost is 50,000 pounds or so. When we get on the highway, I'm going to tell you what this bus has that's, well, what it has in common with the Prevost. It may surprise you. So stay tuned. Okay, here goes that darn blinker again. Okay. Now we're going up an incline here. Feel this acceleration. This engine is a great match for this bus. Compared to the Prevost, this thing's like a sports car in terms of acceleration and the way it handles. I mean, don't get me wrong, that Prevost, finest bus I've ever driven. Completely different. Now, we are going right around 60 miles an hour right now. Highway speeds. You know, road surface is not perfect. Here's what this bus has in common with the Prevost. I'm going to be quiet, hard for me. Listen to it. Now here's what's amazing. Should a big old FedEx truck come hauling by me 10 miles faster than I'm going, this bus doesn't get pushed around. It has to do somewhat with the curved lines of the front. The rear, having that kind of bulbous rear end, it really cuts down on the buffeting. And I tell you, I know that when I have a tow car behind this, I'm towing all day long. It's clean. It throws a clean air line over the end of it. It's really quite amazing. Okay, the theme of this video is, what's it like to drive a Flxible Starliner? Let me see if I can give you a summary on it. This thing is solid. It's solid as a rock. It's matched well with the power of the engine the Allison transmission, the space on the interior, the actual house of it. Dave and Carol Lang did a wonderful job of designing something that's usable. I have twin beds in the back. I have a usable galley. I have a stand-up shower that's larger than some RVs that I've seen in the past. The headroom on this is great, and a part of it has to do with the design. Instead of, like motorhome manufacturers, having all the storage in the bays below you and increasing the height of the bus, the storage here is in the rear. It's the old baggage compartment. When this thing was originally used by the Union Pacific Railroad, its purpose was to haul passengers from the railroad stations to ski resorts, such as the one in Sun Valley, Idaho. I have the old original destination board that shows all the destinations this place went to. And this baggage storage room, that's where people put their baggage. They didn't put them underneath the bus. That didn't happen until years later. I mean, I'm not a bus historian. I'm sure some people will show me examples of other ones that didn't do it that way. But because of the lower profile, you still have ample storage space. The way that it handles, is just phenomenal. This thing is a 60 or 61-year-old bus. And I'll put this up against a brand new Class A RV that's rolling off the showroom in terms of quality of ride. This is a 35-foot, I'll match it against another 35-footer. It's comfortable. I've driven it across multiple states. It's easy to handle around town. Granted, the quirk, the power steering, I wouldn't change it. Now, a big question that's come up lately, I've had, some people contact me through GadgetGuru.com, through my Facebook page. People very interested in buying it. It's happened more than a couple occasions just the past few months. A lot of it has to do with the other video that I have online on this. And let me just clear the air. I have this and I have a Prevost. They're for two different purposes. I have the Prevost to take on cross-country adventures. This is great to go to shows. I have a couple shows coming up in the very near future where I'll have this on display. There won't be a for sale sign on it. I enjoy having it. It's fun to use for charity events and the like. However, and I'll tell you something, since I purchased this, my lifestyle has changed. I'm doing quite a bit of travel, with the Prevost. Yeah, I'm just changing lanes here. And I'm not using this as much. I do get this out every 2 to 3 weeks and take her on an exercise run for a minimum 45 minutes and usually a little bit longer than that. If somebody were to approach me with a serious offer, that was more than what I paid for it, and took an advantage of what I've put into it and kept it well maintained, I would entertain it. So if you are interested, just go to GadgetGuru.com and hit the contact button on there. I will reply to you. Serious inquiries only. But again, if I do decide to keep this, I'm going to make that decision over the summer for the long haul. There's a place up in Colorado, Timeless Travel Trailers. I spoke to them once about a year ago. I'm considering taking this up there and doing my own interior renovation on here, making it my own. And let me tell you, there's nothing wrong with the way that Dave and Carol did it. But I figured, if this is something I'm going to keep for a long, long time, I want to kind of make it look like the old vintage Airstreams. And Timeless Travel does, from what I've seen and what I've heard, they have one of the best reputations around for these types of renovations. And they're seasoned in skill. So if you're watching this Timeless Travel Trailers, give me a call. Maybe we'll talk. But other than that, what's it like to drive a 1957 Flxible Starliner? Well, as you can tell, it makes me smile. Heck, it makes America smile again. Oh, one more thing, let me show you. I'll do it when there's not too many cars around here. There's 2 air horns on here. I hope you can hear these. Here's horn 1. Here's air horn 2. I didn't want to scare that car over there. It's like loud and louder. Jim Lattimore, the guy who was a custodian before me on this bus, he used to have more fun with those air horns. He'd hit them so much he'd have to worry about did he have enough air pressure left for the brakes. You know, again, Jim's the guy who told me about Armstrong. Jim's the guy who took such good care of this bus for the last 2 years. Here you hear the air freshener bleeding off right now. That's what that is. When you hear that buzzer or alarm, it's telling you that your air pressure is up high, because after I did the horn, you know, some kind of compressor, whatever, it kicks in, brings the air, you know, pressure back up, and gives you just a little audible to let you know that's what it's doing. I remember when I first heard that, I was a little concerned. Again, you know, I was fortunate that Dave and Carol Line is available by phone. He's the guy who did the conversion on this. Took a couple years to do it. And I'm fortunate that when these little questions come up, he's just one of the nicest guys I think I've ever met. He's now driving a leisure travel van's Unity. He's made some modifications to it. And I got to tell you, I'd buy anything pre-owned from him in a minute, because he knows his stuff. And he knows how to take what a manufacturer's done and to make it even better. You know, it's nice to know people like that. I already told him when he's ready to sell, I don't know if I'll buy it, but to call me. So remember that, Dave. Okay, let's talk about fuel tank. I'm getting approximately 10 to 11 miles per gallon on it. There are 2 separate diesel fuel tanks on here. The larger one, of course, is for the engine. The second one is for the generator. Yet the generator has its own fuel tank. You know, when I first saw that, I said, you know, that's kind of odd. Why don't they just run it off of both? But, you know, when you're dry camping on this, you know, which you can do with the generator. Remember, on this bus, while I do have an inverter and batteries that I added, you know, once I took ownership, that can operate the refrigerator and other things. Inverters are a topic that confuses me, and that's going to be a topic for a future segment. That, you know, having the generator run separately is not necessarily a bad thing. There's some Facebook groups out there that are just wonderful resources for anybody looking for information on Flexibles. Just go to Facebook, search Flxible. Remember how it's spelled. It's Flxible. And there's a story behind that too. But go on to Facebook. If you have interest in anything flexible, or if you're an owner, you're looking for hard to find parts, that's the place to go. Now, speaking of hard to find parts, I would be remiss if I did not give a shout out to one guy who has been so helpful to me. And Larry Blumberg, and I'm not talking about you, but you have been too. And that's John Showman. He is the go-to guy, not just for me, but for others around the country. When you need parts, when you have questions, when you need service. Let me tell you, he has a passion and knowledge for all things flexible. So, you know, go on the Flxible Facebook pages. You'll find him. He really is a good guy. Thanks to you, John. You know, he's helped make this a very pleasurable experience. Okay, let's talk about that torsion bar suspension. I can't explain it. There are people a lot smarter than me on this. All I can tell you is that after all these years, look at this. I'm cruising 44 miles an hour. Again, I'm not going to recommend you drive with no hands, but I mean, you gotta, I mean, if you know anything about old vehicles, that in itself is just an amazing feat. It's smooth, it's durable, it takes bumps well, it doesn't jar you. I've had passengers here in the co-pilot seat, and everybody comments, you know, how smooth it is. You get wind noise, and let me remember, it's an old bus. When you have a headwind, you get wind noise. I can still talk to the passenger with no problem. When you have a tailwind or side wind, it's fairly quiet. Okay, taking a right turn. You know, I can see my curb in the mirror over there. No issue. Now, we were talking about the torsion bar suspension. Watch this. You see the signs? I have a series of speed. These aren't speed bumps. These are speed humps. Of course, I'm going to slow down on them. This might not make a lot of sense, except to somebody who has a Class A RV. Look how it handles this. It's firm. There's no jarring around. You don't hear any squeaks or creaks, you know, coming from the bus as we're going over something like this. Granted, it doesn't have slides, but, you know, this is just amazing. Here we go again. And we have one more. Just to feel the acceleration, now let's let this car go through. This thing has torque. It has pull. You know, I'm already up to 30, 35 miles an hour. Again, 40 miles an hour, 45. I'm going to slow down. Now, here's my engine brake turning on. And I know you probably can't feel it from the camera. You have to trust me. This is assisting me in slowing down. It's like I was in a manual transmission car and downshifted. Okay, we have arrived at Disney's Fort Wilderness. Check this out. This is truly a special place. And this is a great place. If you have an RV or a motorhome, just to kick back, relax, you can enjoy the park. They have a lot of amenities here. Clean as a whistle. It's Disney. Little Armstrong there, wasn't too bad. And the good news is, this place is designed for motorhomes. You know, they have the trees and everything, and that's like some of the parks I've visited in the past, like that place in Central Florida. I don't have to worry about getting my bus, even the big one, scratched up with the trees over here. But if you are coming in with a Prevost or a larger Class A motorhome, make sure that they put you in an appropriate size lot. Because remember, they have everything from tent campers to, you know, jumbo luxury motorhomes here. So when you make your reservation, make sure that you're very clear to them what size motorhome that you're arriving in. I hope you've enjoyed today's segment. And granted, I know that it's long, but you know, trying to explain what it's like to drive a bus like this. You know, I just pulled into the gate here, and people just smile when they see it. They're just, you know, it's just a wonderful thing. This thing is lived up to my expectations, absolutely 100%. It is, it's truly special. It is, just like I started the segment, it's a truly satisfying experience. Questions, comments, and opinions, leave them below. The easiest way to keep posted of my new stories and videos. Don't forget, just like us on Facebook at facebook.com/thegadgetguru. Don't forget to subscribe right here on YouTube. And remember, if you like this video, you're going to like this one. And if you like that one, you're going to like this one too. That's it for now. I'm the Gadget Guru, Andy Parr. Armstrong!